Mr. Logan Storley. How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well.
So you right now are set to headline Bellator 274 against Neiman Gracie. That's February 19th. And this will be your first Bellator main event, right?
Correct. Yep.
So you were a six-time state champion in high school for wrestling, and then a four-time Division I All-American at Minnesota. So you're pretty familiar with game day pressure. But does being in your first big main event maybe add to the nerves at all?
No, I don't think so. I fought Amasa in, I don't know if we were co-main event for that. It was co-main event. I've been co-main event before. Obviously I think for us, it's cool to be the main event. That's why you get in the sport. That's why you want to fight, is to be a main event of big cards, and everyone's waiting to watch you fight. And so for me, I mean, I've fought with a lot on the line before, and I've wrestled in, the biggest matches before in my career. So at the end of the day, it's just competing, and I say that over and over and over again, but that's really that's what it is you have to go out there and you have to perform. And this time it's, for 25 minutes, 5 rounds, and, let it all go and put on a great performance.
Now, like you said, this is going to be 5 rounds, which I think this is a big deal because you're 12-1, right? And that only loss, that was a split decision to Amosov, like
Yep.
you were saying, and that was only 3 rounds. And at the end of that third round, you were putting it on them. I mean, you had really tight RNC attempts. Do you think if you had 2 more rounds that night that you would have finished Amosov?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? I felt like I was gaining momentum in that fight. I'll say that. We can't sit here and say, I would have done this, I would have done that. Well, that wasn't the case that night with, only 3 rounds. But I was starting to find my own, land my shots, had that rear naked in tight, and hit him with some uppercuts, that hurt him and kind of pushed the pace, So we'll see. Hopefully I want that rematch. So we'll hopefully get to find out what will happen in the fourth and fifth round here in a couple months after this fight.
Do you think that 5 rounds is better suited to accommodate your style?
I think so. I can, the biggest thing is you have to be composed. You got to be composed those first 2 rounds. A lot of time in 3-round fights, you have to sprint kind of to win that first round. That first round is so crucial in a lot of fights. And so this one, I think if you can settle into the fight a little more and not have to not go desperation mode, kind of, so guys kind of have to, and mid-second, 2.5 minutes left in the second, if you lost the first and you're losing a little bit of the second round, well, now you kind of have to go for broke in order to get that round back, and then you got to win the third. So for me, it's just, you got to be smart. I got to be focused all 25 minutes. That's what this fight comes down to: being focused, picking my shots, and making sure that you don't redline too early.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance you won't be in another 3-round fight for a really long time. That's just the nature of the beast. That's part of elevating. So, I mean, you might have all the time in the world to execute your game. And I mean, when Logan Storley is across from you in the cage, he's going to be in your face, pushing the pace, getting takedowns, and trying to break you. Do you think Gracie is going to be able to go 5 hard rounds with you?
He's done it with Rory, and then he fought Ed, and he did a good job of, in the Ed fight, if he really came on in the 4th round. Rory did a good job of controlling him, and I've wrestled against Ed in NCAA, no Ed, and then Rory was a former training partner, of mine. So we'll see. It depends on how this fight goes. If I get to my spots, then no, I don't think there's very many people that can handle my pressure for 5 rounds.
So the last time we saw Gracie, he pulled out a standing TKO of all things. Like, no one saw that coming. Do you think he's going to try to just stand with you, or do you think you'll spend less time on the ground than you usually do?
I think we both offer different things for each other. I know right away that he's slick on the ground. So I got to be careful there. I know that he's one of the best on the ground, but he also knows that I can get to my positions and be super heavy and deliver damage. And it's, does he want to scramble for 25 minutes? So, for both of us, we both know that the other guy is very good on the ground. And there's certain, he's really slick with his submissions, and I'm really heavy with my pressure and landing my shots. So the old grappler versus grappler sometimes turns into a stand-up fight, and so we'll see. I guess we'll see where it goes. Obviously, he's been working on his hands. I've been working on my hands, and I think we both, in our minds, think we're better there than the other person, and we're going to find out on February 19th.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier, you were definitely putting hands on Amosov there. Is that Henry Hooft in you? Is that the Sanford MMA?
Yeah, you got Henry Hooft and Jason Strout. I've Robbie Lawler. I've worked with a lot of these guys, and it's just slowly starting to pick up. I think I really hit my stride after this last fight. I came back, took a little break, 2-3 weeks off, and I came back and I just started to, I don't know, something clicked, and I'm really looking forward to showing that.
Yeah. So who are your regular training partners? Do you have like a small group that these are the same guys that I typically train with, or is it just whoever's available?
Yeah, for sparring, I got, Gilbert Burns. Shavkov was, who just fought and had a beautiful TKO or KO, spent a lot of time with him this camp. And then Robbie Lawler, when Mike Chandler's in town, Vicente Luque, Ian Gary, Jason Jackson. I mean, the list goes on and on, of guys that Kevin Lee's here now. So it's just, you got a roster of 55, 70, 85 pounders that, I think we have the best team in the world, pound for pound. When it comes, you look at the guys that are in Bellator, the UFC, one championship, there's so many guys on our team that are the best fighters in the world.
Man, there really is a ton of talent there in the room. It's really remarkable. Do you still talk to Brock Lesnar ever?
When I saw him, I guess we're both back home in Webster, things like that. But he's doing his own thing. I'm doing my own thing. He's helped Gable out a lot, and Gable Steveson, and then he's in touch with the coaches, U of M guys, and same with me. But no, not unless I guess I really need something or along those lines. But I feel like he's a guy that I spent a lot of time with when I was in high school, and kind of introduced me to the sport, and a guy to look up to that is from the same town of less than 2,000 people, and this guy goes and becomes UFC champ, and things he was doing in the WWE and being an NCAA champ. So I definitely appreciate everything that he's done for me and kind of given me insight into what this really looks like.
Man, what is in the water in Webster? I need some of that. Can you buy
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. Man, so someone like Brock being around you from such a young age, I mean, he kind of paved the way, or at least showed you a route that you could go from wrestling. Was there ever a time where competing wasn't something that you were desiring, or maybe you had dreams or aspirations in something completely unrelated to wrestling or MMA?
I wanted to coach. There was a time when coaching. I do a lot of real estate stuff on my own. So I enjoy that. Because we have our own things. I love fighting and it's what I do, but sometimes you need a break from it as well, of the ins and outs. And so I enjoy coaching and enjoy doing my real estate investing and things like that. But when it's weird to have it kind of taken away. I got hurt for a while when I first started, and I think I was out for 6 or 8 months, and I was like, okay, I'm not done competing yet. Like when it's taken away, then you want to get back there. And so for me right now, I'm healthy. I'm still young in this sport, and so I'm really enjoying the process. And that's the that's a big thing. As long as you're still enjoying it and, continuing to climb those ranks, I'm seeing myself getting better, every week. And so I'm having a lot of fun with it right now.
I'm really glad to hear you have your real estate portfolio going on, because there's a lot of guys who don't do anything outside of fighting, and that's just not really a good look. I feel like when you're in the sport of MMA, you almost have to have side hustles, um, just because of where the sport's at. The money isn't where boxing is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But was that something you knew before you got into it, that I have to have other hustles going on besides fighting?
I think for me, the biggest thing is if it ever came down to a point where I wasn't enjoying it, or if I wasn't having maybe the success that I thought I was, or you get hurt like this sport. We've seen guys go with head injuries, or, that when it's over, it's over. When and that can be at any time in the sport. And that's just the honest truth. And so for me, I wanted to have something set aside where I could go do other things, and there wasn't so much pressure every fight that you're fighting for money. It's not fun when and that's anybody in life, when you have to, you're constantly looking at the checkbook, and it's like, oh man, I have to do this, and adding that extra pressure. I didn't want that. And I wanted to make sure that I kind of set myself up, for, if I want to be done, I want to be, I can be done and go do something else. And so that was the biggest thing for me, is when it's time for me to step away, if I don't want to fight till I'm 40, I don't have to, like, I don't have to keep taking these fights or go fight in shows that I don't want to. And I think we've seen that sometimes with guys in all sports, not just MMA. You're looking at other sports too, where guys have made millions of dollars, and it's like somehow it goes away real quick. And so for me, that was the biggest thing, is when I'm totally done with this sport, I want to be done and be happy, that it's not look back and kind of have a sour taste in my mouth with the sport of MMA. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, you get to call your own shot when it's time to go and not do it because you have to. I respect that. I think that's a very intelligent outlook. And I hope more fighters maybe hear this and kind of take heed to that and start working on, side hustles and whatnot.
Yeah.
I see you got the Kill Cliff shirt on. So I spoke to Ryan Bader not too long ago, and he was putting me on to drinking CBD. Like, I'm used to guys smoking it, like Nate Diaz, they're always out there smoking their CBD. And he had a can of the Kill Cliff that had like the CBD in it. Are you on that wave too?
Yep. Yeah. So everyone at Sanford, so we got the Kill Cliff deal, and it's been great. I really enjoy their products, and they're great guys. They're former Navy SEALs, have done a lot for this country. They make great products, and that's really what it comes down to. Is I love their product, and we've been on it, I think, for 2 years. With Kill Cliff, and they understand the sport, and they love the sport of MMA, and they give back to the sport of MMA. We don't have a lot of bigger companies that do that, and so I think it's pretty awesome that Kill Cliff is giving back to the sport of MMA, helping grow it, giving fighters a chance to have other sponsorship deals, and they have a great product.
I mean, what would you say you notice the CBD does for you? I mean, it's recovery based. I mean, do you notice it when you don't take it, or what's the biggest benefit you would say from CBD?
I would say the inflammation, I guess, for me, is I'm a guy that sometimes will get bad inflammation, and I think you can definitely tell a difference, and everyone's different. Some people can't tell anything. The next person, it's life changing, with CBD. And so for me, I can definitely tell a difference, and they're also great, with the caffeine in them. It's not too much. It's not, making my heart burst out of my chest. And it's a nice little pick me up, I guess, before afternoon practice that also doesn't have a crash. So like they're clean energy, and that's really what a lot of us look for in the afternoon, or in the morning, whatever it is. So just I thank those guys for helping us all out and giving back to the sport of MMA.
Awesome. Do you have any other sponsors or people you'd like to give a special thank you or a shout out to?
Yeah, this fight I have Sanford Orthopedics, Get Biofuel, Oak Grove, Wiley Painting, Webster Scale, and those guys have, really what help us fighters is these sponsors that help take care of us, and especially in a day and age where sponsors are a little different than they used to be. And so to have companies that are backing us really, means a lot to all of us fighters.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Man, it used to be like the only way really for fighters to get paid real money. Um, and it's definitely changed, but it's good to see companies still out there, still supporting. And some of the old school people that have been around forever are still around. So that's good to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what are your social media platforms? How can people follow you along in your journey and stay up to date?
Logan_Storley on Instagram, and then Storley Storm on Twitter, and then Logan Storley on Facebook. So you can follow along, and kind of check it out. So see what I'm up to leading up to these next, I guess, 2 weeks. So big 2 weeks, and then fight night on February 19th. So I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Well, Logan Storley, thank you so much for taking out the time. Neiman Gracie is in your crosshairs. Bellator 274, the main event, February 19th on Showtime. Have fun out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.